Hello and welcome to the Academic Alehouse. I'm your host Clayton. I'm joined, as always, by my co-host Ryan.
Howdy.
Today we're talking about the essentially collapse of the Democratic Party in 2019.
In two languages.
So I think to start this conversation, we have to go back to 2016.
Oof.
Possibly even earlier.
We have to. 2016 had clowns.
Oh, don't remind me. That was not fun. I had to hear about that, and
Yeah.
I think my apartment at the time, someone was screwing around, so they pounded on my window. It was like 9 or 10 at night. That was fun.
Yeah, no. When people say go back to 2016, all I can think of is election hysteria and clowns. Sometimes the two weren't mutually exclusive.
I remember sitting up and watching the election.
I remember. Okay, so I was in community college at the time, and we had this game because we never thought Donald Trump was going to win the presidency.
Of course not.
But we thought we'd at least get a buzz off of it, and so for every state he carried was a tequila shot, and for every swing state he carried was a double. I haven't had tequila since. What a night. I crawled 40 feet to our bedroom to my wife, who was asleep, drunk, just completely obliterated, saying, Donald Trump's the president. I swear to God, I'm not lying. You're drunk. Go to bed. Woke up the next morning. I had the worst hangover I've ever had in my life. And I remember walking out the next morning, her sitting behind the couch, watching TV going, well, I'll be damned. And you could see the trail of destruction just leading back to the bedroom.
The eternal no on Inauguration Day.
That was the inauguration, yeah. I was pretty surprised. I always thought the right-wingers were pretty crazy during the Trump with the birther movement and all that. I was like, okay, this is the time for the left to show me what they're made of now that they've lost. Because, boy, did they rise to the occasion.
Over the past 3 years, they've only given us...
Well, isn't the Russia thing just the birther movement on crack?
I would think no. Purely because whereas the birther movement was a legitimate attempt to investigate as to whether or not a sitting president was not qualified to be a sitting president,
to which no federal resources were allotted.
This was an examination of, are there foreign powers interfering in our elections? Which, yes, always, forever.
Both were attempts to discredit the legitimacy of a sitting president.
I can see where you would look at this like
the
that.
end goal for both investigations, be it Mueller, be it crazy redneck on Facebook, was to delegitimize a sitting president.
Yeah.
Both had the same means, just one had federal funding.
And Lord knows
Lots of federal funding. I gotta wonder how it cost $20 million to launch an investigation. I'm just saying, when I'm at work and they tell me to go figure something out, it doesn't cost any money. It just costs me walking around from person to person asking, have you seen this?
I think, I can't remember where I heard this, but it was like, oh, if we were to cut funding to certain areas, we'd get like $20 billion. And the response was, well, the government would spend that in less than a month.
Well, where does it go? They launch an investigation, and what were the figures on the Mueller investigation? It was in the millions. How? It all happened on the East Coast. Now, I live in the middle of frickin' Texas, and driving back and forth from Texas to end multiple times, including replacing the car I tried it in, wouldn't cost $1 million. No. How are these people commuting from D.C. to New York? Let's even say they took a weekend to the Gulf Resort.
I don't even think they're leaving D.C. Let's be real here.
So where are they spending? The paper does not I know there's a cost of living adjustment, but damn.
Yes,
where
absolutely.
does this money go? How many coffee runs did you send the intern on? I want some receipts. Because, honestly, how do you spend... hold on. I'm going to look this up because I need to know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I need to look. 1 second.
2016, I think, is a defining year for the modern Democratic Party because it showed that they were flawed, that they could not put whatever candidate they wanted into the spotlight and win.
Okay, I got the numbers here. Okay, so Time Magazine, well, their website, because who reads a magazine anymore? Through September 30th, 2018, his office spent $12,287,852.
Good Lord.
This includes $7.3 million on salaries and benefits, $1.3 million on travel and transportation, and $2.2 million on rent and utilities. I have questions. Moving on. And the most recent of the three expense reports filed $15,618 on printing and copying needs. That is a whole lot of butt copy faxes.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, rent and utilities.
What are you renting?
They're on the East Coast.
Where are you renting? Can you not just buy a house?
How are you spending $1.3 million on transportation?
Yeah, that's a good question. Where the hell are they going?
Wherever they're going first class. I guess Mueller wasn't sitting in the back between some guy speaking an unidentified language and a screaming baby.
Although, if I had to guess and justify that transportation cost, it would probably be flying people in to DC to be.
I can fly to Germany for $1,000. And I think that's economy. Economy.
Think first class, probably last minute flight.
Why did
or private jet? Private jet.
No.
What?
Why do they get a private jet?
You think half those people don't own half our Congress people don't own private jets of some description?
And that is a whole nother issue for a whole nother podcast. We'll get to that on why they can afford private jets. Personally, I don't think they should be able to afford name brand macaroni and cheese, but that's a whole nother thing for a whole nother day.
I agree.
$1.3 million on travel and transportation. But even that, $2.2 million on rent and utilities. Rent and utilities, $2.2 million.
Why are they separate? Could you not find somewhere where rent utilities were included in the rent?
In 2 years, they spent more on rent and utilities than I've spent in my entire adult life.
Oh, same here.
Where are they renting? I mean, don't get me wrong. Again, I understand there is a rental crisis in this country. I understand DC is expensive. But I have yet to see a place for rent. Utilities included, you factor that in 24 months. That's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money.
I'm guessing Mueller's men aren't sleeping on a Murphy bed.
I'm guessing they all had to have their own single apartments.
Where? Upstate New York? Which
Across
honestly,
the East Coast.
You couldn't pay me to set foot in New York.
Virginia.
I've never been. I would go to Virginia, but under protest. But my point being, I understand that your places in the world are a little more expensive than Central Texas, but $2 million, or was it $3 million? No. $2.2 million.
$2.2 million. That's ridiculous.
I won't make that amount of money in my life. They spent it on rent.
It sort of illustrates our government spending problem, but that's a subject for another podcast as well.
But our government spending problem, which has not seemed to have slacked off any under a Republican president than it did under a Democrat president, because government officials who are nameless and faceless are still spending $2 million on rent.
Yeah, this is why I vote Libertarian. That being said, let's focus on the collapse of the Democratic Party as a legitimate party in the eyes of the people.
Right.
So, I think the next nail in the coffin, after the 2016 election, is the election of AOC and her squad in 2017?
Well, midterms, 2016, 2018?
2018.
Think that would have been the midterms?
Yeah.
Well, but here's the thing, is AOC was inevitable. And here's why. She is, and I believe for real, she is everything that the liberal politicians that have been there, your Pelosi's, your Warrens, she's everything that they pretend to be. She's the real deal.
Yeah, she's the real deal. Most of the liberal politicians that are in Congress now, they're corporate Democrats. They're business Dems. They want these big multinational corporations. Mm-hmm. They want to protect them because they pay them. Mm-hmm. Bernie Sanders was arguably the only legitimate socialist
up until he got paid.
Legitimate socialist up until AOC and her crew came in. And then now you have the continued movement, the continued vocal minority of the far left that has seemingly taken over the party.
But the far left was created by these business Dems, and the reason for that is when Barack Obama got elected on his identity politics, which we all know happened, and I fell for it too. The first black president. I still have my hometown newspaper touting how great that was, and I thought it was a great thing. I was young at the time and didn't, that's all I understood. Yeah. This has never happened before. I'm seeing something great.
I mean, that's not uncommon for people to vote that way, though.
Right. They took it and they ran with it. And the problem was identity politics became household politics. And so you have these people who were saying the rich are the problem, the white are the problem, the rich white business class are the problem. Look at our Democratic senators, the rich white business class, who touted this line, who towed this line, who ran it to the edge, saying, fight the rich, fight the greedy, fight this, we need a fair country.
Yeah.
While filling their pockets with corporate money. Is it any shock that someone actually believed that message, and now they're dealing with everything they pretend to be? AOC is.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with AOC. She is probably more true to their message than they are.
And what's even funnier is that now, because everybody knows that Pelosi and her ringleaders, I guess, or her circus...
Her coven of witches.
That's probably a more accurate statement.
Let's be honest.
Because for those of you who are unaware, Pelosi runs the Democratic Party, not whoever the DNC. No, not whoever the DNC elected. I think it was a guy, but he's a spineless wimp. He'll kowtow to that dinosaur Pelosi at any given point.
To be fair, I'd probably kowtow to that dinosaur Pelosi. I feel like she's probably pretty scary. She's one of those people who order a martini dry and also stab someone while they're drinking it. She just seems like the kind of woman I wouldn't want to mess with. Like in a bar.
I agree. I've seen pictures of her. She's the
You ever seen that show Archer?
She's Mallory Archer.
She is.
She's Mallory Archer with like
less moral scruples.
I would argue more moral scruples.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, Nancy's doing her best to hold the party together, but AOC's not having it.
No, and neither is Trump, which is so funny.
We will get to him. We're not even there yet.
We aren't.
But AOC and Pelosi,
AOC wants to be in charge of the Democratic Party, which is why she's called Pelosi's
racist. The old guard, and AOC is what this party has created over the last 10 years. She is everything that they were supposed to be. The problem is she's not under their control.
Exactly.
And that's not something the party is used to. Look at their superdelegate system. You remember back when 2016 the primaries were going on?
Yeah.
Bernie won the election.
Bernie won.
And I remember there being celebration until they went on the phone and they Googled who was winning the primary just to show off. And Hillary
had
won because of the superdelegate thing.
Yeah.
And it was at this point you started to see some serious disenfranchisement from your further left. This continued after Bernie, let's be real, got robbed.
Yeah.
But at least he didn't, Other people who've crossed the Clintons haven't fared as well just as getting robbed. At least his pocket was picked and not his apartment clean of evidence.
Yeah.
But that's a whole other thing for a whole other day. The point is, Bernie did everything right and still lost because of the party system, which was rigged in favor of Clinton, because the party is firmly in control of the party.
Exactly.
With your right-wingers, there's some control, but the right wing is very fractured. It always has been, but somehow it's like a confederation, whereas the left has always been very uniform. This is a fracture, to say the least, but it's a Tuesday for the Republican Party. You've got your Rand Pauls in the Republican Party. What's the difference between Rand Paul and Trump and AOC and Pelosi? It's just a Tuesday for the Republicans. They're used to it.
They're used to being fractured. Especially since the 80s when they were in power and homogenous and they got crushed
that's exactly
by the Clintonian Democrats.
Right, and let's be real. Bill Clinton was probably our first real black president. Let's just reel it back there. Slick Willie had far more street cred than Barack Obama. We're gonna put that out there right now. I stand by it. Anyone who has something to say, throw a hashtag out. We might see it. I stand by that. His skin color might not have been right, but he was. Yeah, no. Bill Clinton.
Ironic, considering his wife coined the term "super predator," leading to a generation of imprisoned minor criminals.
Super Predator, not a Predator movie. A little disappointed to hear that. Was thinking it was going to be a continuation of such a grand series.
Yeah. The new Predator movie's trash, by the way.
It's all right. How can you improve on a Schwarzenegger classic?
You
Get
can't.
to the chopper.
The answer is you can't.
But they tried. And
destroying what little lore remained of the Predator's
dignity.
They
did that with Alien vs. Predator, and you know it.
That's fair. I also haven't seen that, so I wouldn't know.
I'll hook you up. By the way, though, out of the 2 Alien movies, except for Alien 4, fight me, Sigourney Weaver, all the Alien movies, excellent. The second one, Alien being one of the rare series where the second movie was actually better than the first. I don't know what happened in Alien 4. I wasn't even on drugs, and that movie was strange. But again, at me, Sigourney Weaver, we'll talk. But that being aside, back to whatever we were talking about before, which was Bill Clinton being the black president, which was the Clintons running the Democratic Party. There we go. I'm back on track. Just to loop that around there. The people, the far left, these enfranchised youth, these disenfranchised youth that the Democratic Party preys on.
I would argue that the right is more disenfranchised now.
Oh, absolutely, because, there's a lot of different opinions. We'll get down into that because that ties into... you can go everywhere from the Kekistan issue to Israel to basic building the wall. The rights issues are...
And one of the things that I like about the new sort of emerging right is even, most of us would say we don't agree with a lot of the right's a lot of what we would assume the right stood for.
Sure.
But we're trying.
But, so are the left. But the left have this belief of a utopia where everyone gets treated fairly and yada yada. Then that's, idealistic. But, and the merits of that idealism are subjective. And I don't like getting into that kind of thing. But, arguably, AOC and this new left are what the old left have always touted themselves to be. But instead of, easy squeeze generic mayo, you've got the real McCoy right here. These are the people who believe in a socialist government, believe in, fair for everybody, who believe in, tackling rent and universalizing health care.
Cow farts.
I don't know if they covered that. Did they cover that yet? I don't know.
The Green New Deal
Oh, God.
So the next step. So after AOC's election.
Sure.
The next step is the Green New Deal. Her first big foray onto the stage of politics.
And I'm admittedly...
I mean, after the freak out of the right, where it's we elected a socialist.
Everybody calls the left snowflakes, but have you ever heard Rush Limbaugh go off? I'm not kidding.
No.
I was driving a car a short distance. It was maybe 200 yards. And I happened to turn the engine on and was driving, and, the person who had the car before me was listening to Rush. Didn't care to adjust the radio. I was moving 200 feet. And Rush started off having a conversation like we are. And by the time I hit that 200 feet mark and parked the car, that man sounded like he was going to come through the speakers and kick my ass. Just for thinking about the left. You want to talk about somebody who gets fired up and scary. This anonymous man who, honestly, if I didn't know he was Rush Limbaugh, I would picture wearing a camo bandana in a bunker somewhere in Cleveland. He gets mad. When the right gets angry, they yell. Where the left tries to act like they're better and smarter than you. You got your Rush Limbaughs on the right, you got your AOCs on the left. There's no discernible difference between the two, except method of expressing their displeasure. It really... Some people rant on Twitter, some people rant on AM radio. What's the difference?
There really isn't one, except Twitter has less characters. Twitter
is
a shit show at any given point. You could log into Twitter on any given day and pick, just scroll through and see, oh, that's a fire, there's a fire, there's a fire, there's a fire, there's a fire.
See, that's why I don't. And I'm going to get a lot of flack, but I'm a millennial who detests, and I mean detests, social media. It gives too many stupid people a platform. And the funny thing is, I don't have to single anybody out. That is one thing everybody seems to agree on.
The ironic thing is we're now participating in social media.
You're participating in social media. I'm not allowed on Twitter since the incident, and you know that. Since the incident. And because of a few other previous incidents, I shouldn't be allowed out of this room and to the public.
I might trim that. Whatever.
Yeah. See how you can trim me? He's got me locked in a cage, people. Please let me out. I promise I won't do it again.
No, you get 3 meals a day and you're happy.
I won't do it again, except maybe one time. But anyway, point being, the Twitter, Facebook, MySpace, for those who are too cool for the other two, are all platforms that give people who really shouldn't be listened to, who used to stand on a corner with a tinfoil hat, a platform.
Yeah.
And then other people take this platform and they run with it, and somehow, instead of the end is near in tinfoil, you go from there, you start there, and in the comments, somehow you go from there to, like, freaking abortion. Like, it goes from 0 to 100 real quick on the internet.
It does. But I feel like the internet's always been that way.
No, not so much. You remember the Wild West days, 2011, 2012, it was all just memes. It was memes and Minecraft.
What I remember of 2011 and 2012 was the rise of the skeptic movement on YouTube.
Well, but you're a YouTuber. I was never one of those. I just remember that's where I realized that the news really didn't talk a whole lot about things. It was in those years. But you could hear people talking about it online. And that was a place, it was sort of an anti-media back then. You could hear about when we bombed Libya. The news didn't talk about that. The Operation Fast and the Furious, Fox talked about it, but they did it Rush Limbaugh style, which is, and, all the other news outlets didn't say a thing. It was there that I really discovered there was a media bias. However...
And then
everyone got on Facebook.
Yeah.
And everyone got on the internet. And then you had to listen to your boomer grandma talk about how,
And then 2016 happened, and the media bias became basically undeniable.
Because, there were people who, I would always say, the media is not reporting this, and I would always get called crazy.
Yeah.
After 2016, now everybody always couldn't be trusted. Funny how they all jumped on that train.
I mean, I think even before 2016, a poll of media trustworthiness would have shown that most people don't, or at least a minority do.
Yeah, but now people only trust the media outlet that affirms their views, and somehow that's worse.
I feel like that's always been the case, though.
Yes and no. I remember back when I was a kid, they would switch between election coverage when Gore and Bush were, going for it, and some were ahead by a little bit of points. They had Bush ahead by a little, some had Bush ahead by a lot, but actually, if you think about it, they tried to attack Bush's legitimacy then with the Florida recounts. Mm-hmm. I mean, there was that. It seems that it has been with Bush it was a little bloop with the legitimacy thing, and then with Obama it was, a little bigger, and now with Trump it's a tidal
Now
wave.
It's been an endless stream, arguably because the Democratic Party can't get over that they lost.
Yes. Now, do foreign governments meddle in our election?
Absolutely.
I would be shocked if they didn't. However, let's look at our track record.
Yeah.
Meddling
we really don't want to
elections.
open that can of worms.
But we have.
Exactly.
We're sitting here messing with the Russians. Meanwhile, how many people in Central America alone have we deposed? Shooting Saddam in the middle, having Saddam hung in the middle of that square might be considered an election interference by some people in Iraq. That's arguably not good in election. I mean, Iraq hasn't done well since Saddam died, but that's, a whole other topic for a whole other day.
Yeah.
But the point being, we don't have a good track record for election interference.
No.
Especially during our communist McCarthy times. Oh, you want to be communist?
Oh, I have a whole thing on McCarthy. That's going to be a fun episode.
Oh, yeah, because we're living in that time again. Just different.
I have a whole thing on McCarthy. Trust me.
I'm sure you do. Hopefully, he's closer on most of it. Anyway.
Mean. Anyway, so AOC gets elected. The Green New Deal happens, and the Democratic Party, about half of them, jump behind it real quick before
it's politically profitable. Sure.
Because it's politically profitable, and it's the first movement of this new bright shining star that the right is freaking out about. Oh, at the time.
Sure.
Then everybody slowly begins to realize how utterly ridiculous it is.
Attention, what was it? Universal Healthcare Act? No. Affordable Care. That's what it was. The Affordable Care Act.
Yeah, and then, so the Green New Deal was rescinded. AOC sort of fades into obscurity at that point.
Till the presidential election?
Till now, because I don't remember her being significant. I'd see her on occasion with something stupid she said.
She's the person that the right loves to hate. They can't really bag on Pelosi. What else?
They can't really bag on Pelosi because Pelosi is them, just with a different political agenda.
Pelosi is doing her best to try to keep things down the middle for the Democrats. Pelosi understands that if she caves and goes extreme left, that they lose the states they lost in 2016.
Exactly.
Your Wisconsin, I think, Michigan.
Worse still, they lose the Rust Belt to Trump in 2020.
Already. Yeah, they already lost it to Trump in 2016. Now the question is, everyone's been watching this Russia thing, chalking up Trump's win to the Russians. When really, really at the core of it, campaign bluster aside, WikiLeaks revealing all sorts of things nobody likes to talk about anymore all of a sudden, aside, what Trump did that won him the election is he campaigned in the Rust Belt and Hillary didn't.
He campaigned harder than Hillary, too.
And he campaigned harder. Hillary was told that she would win this election in a landslide. And when Trump got the nomination, they thought they were a shoo-in.
Yeah.
So she got lazy and complacent. And anyone in the military, policing... Well, that's a subject for debate apparently, too. But I've seen some pictures that raise questions. But that being said, she got complacent. She was told she was already the president. In fact, do you remember? I do, and I still can't get my hands on a copy. I want to say it was Time or People or one of those magazines.
The New
Yorker.
Not New Yorker. New York Post.
New York Post. The ran like Madam President.
Yes.
So this election was Hillary's to win. Hillary's to just. It was given. I didn't even. I don't.
And then the first debate happened, and he outstripped her.
The polls still showed her with a 97% chance of winning. Now, it's possible she believed her own propaganda. Because that's what those polls turned out to be. Possible.
I mean...
But I have a hard time believing people who worm their way up.
Well, here's the thing. The internal polls had to show something else because you don't really release something like the pussy tape that late into an election cycle unless you know that you're not guaranteed the victory.
But think about it. They also had a sex charge they tried to bring against Trump, which faded away really quick.
Yeah.
But I remember it being brought up.
I think, Clinton knew... by, I have to say June, maybe not June, later, probably August or late July, that she was not in the same position she thought she was in.
But by then everybody
was saying she was in. And by then, it was too late to change her campaign. It was too late to make more stops on the campaign trail. Well,
but was it? Now, her health being a key issue on how hard you can campaign. Yeah. If she was truly sick...
If she was sick, it would have been an issue.
That math adds up.
If she wasn't, she could have had a few more stops, especially in the Rust Belt, to compete with Trump.
But the Rust Belt is what won Trump the presidency. It wasn't... No, don't get me wrong. Comey and his bullshit. Don't get me started on that, man.
I think that's another episode.
See, look at us go. Comey and his crap didn't help. But what it comes down to is he won those states.
Yeah.
And if you isolate it, if you filter out the Russia, the bluster, the campaign, the Hillary being sick, the murder, all the fun things that come with an election, the Rust Belt electoral votes swung that election. But if I remember right, it wasn't even close.
In the Rust Belt?
Everywhere.
I think the closest competitor was
votes,
the third-party candidate.
She got the popular vote, but he got the electoral. And now, was that election strategy, or did the Rust Belt decide the election for Donald Trump? Because they called Florida pretty early. I know they called Florida early because I can still remember it. That night gets progressively blurrier the harder I try to remember. By the time Michigan rolled around, I'm pretty sure I thought I was a rainbow. So it was a pretty rough night.
I'd have to look again.
But the thing is she did win the popular vote. But
she did.
But the Electoral College has always been the way things are done. Didn't Obama win against, was it Romney in the Electoral College? We were told to get over it, deal with it, that's how the system worked. And then the same people who said that got very mad when Trump did the same thing. And that circles back to...
I don't think Romney won the popular vote, though.
Somebody. Was it McCain? Well, I thought one of them did.
There was a... I don't think it was against Obama.
Huh. Hey, I could believe that. Honestly, both McCain and Romney were such...
I think it was Bush.
Might have been Bush.
I think Gore won popular, but Bush won electoral.
Because I remember the left defending the Electoral College. They wouldn't have defended Bush. No matter how he's right light compared to some of the people we've got now. But that's
Lord.
We won't cover W. Let the poor man. Let him rest in peace.
Let him rest in peace, please. I can't remember when there is a precedent. I thought it was Obama. A sitting president winning the electoral.
Wasn't Bill? He won on a landslide. Bill was popular. Bill.
It might have been
Bill
HW.
Clinton. Might have been HW. Bill Clinton was the only person to win all the races. Slick Willie. I stand by earlier arguments. Anyway.
But the current collapse of the Democratic Party, I think, comes from
creating something that they can't control.
Yeah.
Which is fight the rich, evil white man. Well, newsflash for the people in Congress, large majority
are rich white men.
No, they're, hey, this is 2019. There are some very rich white women. Women can be corrupt too,
Not according to feminism.
Well, again, whole other subject, whole other day. We keep coming back to that saying. That just needs to be the tag phrase.
Yeah.
But we get to this thing of they are the very thing they protested against, and now you've got this fresh wave of AOCs, even your Kamala Harris's.
Kamala Harris.
She trashed Joe Biden by using his own votes against him. You saw that in the debate. What was it? I was that girl. That he voted for some segregation thing, and she was part of it.
Yeah.
So that says two things that are interesting. He's been in office way too damn long. And two, she grew up listening to them and became what they said needed to be. Now arguably, she's more middle ground.
I would disagree because Kamala Harris was in politics and in power in the 90s.
Sure.
So... And this is where the whole her listening to Tupac like 2 years before he ever released an album.
I didn't catch that, but then again, the drama does bypass me quite often.
Yeah, I noticed. But she has a horrible prosecution record in terms of sending kids to jail for truancy.
When you say horrible, you mean she was really good at it or really bad at it?
She was really good at sending kids to jail for truancy, for minor drug possession. Basically the era of the super predator where it's hard justice now, we won't have to deal with it later.
Okay. So you're saying she was smoking pot in college while busting pothead teenagers?
Basically, yes.
Lovely.
She doesn't have the prosecution record to hold her own in the election.
But she never voted for segregatory measures. Joe Biden did. Now, Joe Biden was arguably...
Joe Biden is good. Joe Biden, or Creepy Joe. Creepy Joe has his own problems. But the Democratic field now is not helped by the fact that AOC has effectively forced Pelosi and the rest of the Democrats to stand behind her thanks to Trump basically telling them, hey, go fix your own countries.
Can we talk about, and I have to bring attention to this, why were people answering questions in Spanish? And our very own Beto Robert O'Rourke, our lovely Irish Mexican senator,
the Lord of Cringe,
right, started it, and then for some reason it was like
Cory Booker
did it. Now, it only would have been better if Warren had busted out some Cherokee. I'd have voted for her if she'd have managed that, but she didn't. And then, you got Andrew Yang tweeting that he wasn't ready for this Spanish test, while they're all answering questions in Spanish and everybody's confused. That was their opening debate. Now, I remember...
the first debate, and we've still got 2 more to go.
And I'm so excited. I'm ready. But the thing is when Donald Trump was running, we all sat there watching it, expecting it to just be the biggest. You had Carly Fiorina, you had Ted Cruz, you had Marco Rubio, you had Donald Trump. It was supposed to be the smackdown event of the century.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be entertainment.
You had a Bush.
You had a Bush
that would have been an interesting matchup for Bush versus Clinton, 2 dynastic political families going up against each other.
And somehow, all of those debates put together don't equal that first Democratic debate in terms of just what the fuck entertainment. Like, what? Why? Robert O'Rourke is not Mexican.
When I want yucks on YouTube, I look at the Young Turks election night coverage just for the catharsis of it. That's how I feel watching the Democratic debate.
But the point is, even the moderators don't know what's going on. Like, who are they going to feed questions to? Because we all know that happened in 2016.
Oh,
they caught the Clinton campaign with debate answers ahead of time, and somehow she still lost. There seems to be a trend, having everything guaranteed and handed to you and still losing. Apparently that's the new Trenton Clade mark instead of the, under the desk happy time. Passing on.
Which one's better is arguable.
Oh, I mean, judging by that sweater, I'd say that one. I'd say Bill had it figured out. That's a whole nother thing. I'm surprised Hillary Clinton didn't throw his TV and his clothes out on the White House lawn.
Oh, please. She's never had sex with him. Her vagina has teeth.
Chelsea. Had to happen once.
No, I don't believe Chelsea is their daughter.
She had to come from somewhere.
Is her daughter, at least. She's Bill's daughter. There's no doubt about that.
What, are you assuming she grew up in a test tube?
I'm assuming Bill fucked someone that looked relatively like Hillary, possibly hotter.
Yeah.
And raised the daughter on his own.
No. That is put your tinfoil hat on. I'm looking up Hillary Clinton pregnant pictures. This needs to be a thing.
I don't think it is.
It has to be.
Because it was in the 90s.
I refuse to believe.
It had to be in the 80s or 90s when she was pregnant with her.
She's
what? 24? She's what? In her 30s now? The Chelsea Clinton?
Just let me do this. I need to do this. I need to figure this out right now. There has to be a way
what you can look forward to on the academic Alehouse.
I can't. They don't exist.
By the way, both of us are only 2 drinks in.
Look, wait. I think that's her kissing a baby. Is it her baby? I can't tell. They all look the same. Is that babyist?
The photos he showed me are black and white.
Shut up.
I don't know. See, that's the issue.
Who the hell is that?
See, that's the issue.
Okay.
The Clintons are influential and rich enough to have had a surrogate mother.
Okay, but that doesn't make the kid any less yours. No, I'm no expert. The bits and pieces all come from the 2 parents. They just use the human as an incubator, which I'm wording that way because it's the Clintons. You are a human incubation unit. Why is it always a German accent when you do something like that? You ever notice that? It's always... Anyway, think about it.
It's either German, Russian, or Arabic, because that's what the media has projected as the villains of our time.
Honestly, diverse.
Yeah.
Maybe not diverse enough, though.
Of course not.
But we all know that the real villains...
We know Mulan isn't black enough for...
Oh, honestly, the real villains are at Wall Street, and they're all pretty white, so you got that going for you.
Yeah.
And they are the villains. Anyway, circling back, not pregnancy conspiracies aside, I will get you later on that. Somehow. Anyway, those 2 are married, but arguably not in love. It's a political powerhouse marriage.
Exactly.
However, Bill's not dead yet, and she lost the election.
Yeah.
And there is that. There has to be some love there. Honestly, I think she'd have done away with him as soon as he got impeached if there wasn't some love there, right?
No, I think it hurts her power base to get rid of Bill at this point.
I'm not sure. Have you seen the pictures of him looking nervous all the time?
Yeah, because he's expendable to her now. She's made her own name. She doesn't need him anymore.
Bill, if you need our help, just blink a lot. We'll come get you. We can't let our first black president come to harm.
So let's go to more recent events. These happened late June, early July.
Okay.
Probably a few months back, actually. AOC calls Pelosi racist.
Probably not true.
And
probably not a lie.
This has been endemic of the feud between the 2. The probably internal power struggle.
More like a teenage mom struggle. Pelosi's the mom, AOC's the teenager swearing that it's not just a phase, Mom, this is really who I am. It's just happening in Congress.
This is internalized within Congress. And
this is not a phase, Mom. Che Guevara is who I am. Did I say that right?
Che Guevara.
Well, I'm whiter than paper. I mean, I did my best.
That's fair. So, the internal power struggle continues. AOC is trying to gather a support base. No one wants to support her except her squad. Ilhan Omar, third bitch and fourth bitch.
I don't know.
The only...
honestly. I've seen the pictures, but I haven't been keeping up with it because
squad.
Yeah, but honestly,
Elon Omar and AOC are the only ones worth talking about.
Well, true. But that being said, meanwhile, Pelosi has, Dusty Grandpa in the wheelchair gang.
Yeah.
It's really...
She has the more incumbent power base and seniority.
But it doesn't seem to count for jack against someone with a competent Twitter use. I mean, all AOC has to do is turn off Nancy's Wi-Fi.
Which is why the fact that Trump got involved is so interesting.
On the side of Pelosi.
I don't think on the side of Pelosi. I think he forced Pelosi into a bad position.
Which, he probably laughed about all the way to the golf course. But
God, yes. So,
to be honest, he's our first troll president.
Here's the thing as I see it.
Yeah.
So Trump knows this is happening. I guarantee you Trump knows this is happening because everybody talks to him.
That man spends more time on Twitter than he probably does with his child.
All his children are grown, so.
No, there's the little one.
Trump Jr.?
No.
Not Trump Jr.
No, the other one.
The other one.
The 12-year-old. What was his name? Hold on. Barron Trump.
Ah.
Which, good for him. What is he, 70? Barron's like 13?
Yeah.
Honestly, not even politics aside. Good for him.
I know, right?
Just proof that if you have enough money, you can literally do anything. Even if it's not supposed to be anatomically possible.
Blue Chew is amazing.
Something is
not
amazing.
Sponsored, but...
Well, a supermodel wife probably doesn't hurt.
That's fair.
I mean, honestly, if I were 60 with a supermodel wife and $1 million, why not, Of course. What do you think came first? Well, we all know what came first, but do you think she's there for the $1 million? Or do you think, Donald just has the charm?
I think it might be a combination of both, considering.
Do you think she ever thought she'd be the first lady?
No.
Or was that just like the plot twist of a lifetime?
I don't think she thought she was going to be the first lady, which is why you don't see her as the first lady. I think you see his daughter more as the first lady now.
That is true, but that also alludes to some other things he said. Remember those early days where he just didn't know how to shut up. He said he'd date his daughter, and they ran with that. No, don't get me wrong. Ivanka, very handsome woman, very attractive, very well-spoken, very liberal. I've actually heard her speak.
Trump, long before he got the Republican nomination, was a Democrat. He's a centrist at heart.
Well,
really.
His daughter is a rich white woman married to a Jewish banker who leans left. And the speeches she gives promote a lot of leftist ideas, but because her last name is Trump, they've turned on her. Mm-hmm. And that aside, but she does more as the first lady. I see her doing more first lady activities than I see Melania doing.
And I think it's because Melania never...
She wasn't ready.
Either wasn't ready or wasn't prepared for the realization that, hey, this is a possibility I need to prepare for, or was never interested. But
she just wanted a life of fame and fortune after moving from the third world.
Trump makes a tweet.
Sure.
Trump sees a weakness in the Democratic Party. Mm-hmm. This is how I see it.
Sure.
Trump sees a weakness in the Democratic Party.
Yeah.
He realizes that the Democratic Party is fracturing. Mm-hmm. And he can give himself a leg up, a huge leg up.
By hitting that crack with a hammer?
In the next election, by hitting the crack with a hammer. So he tells these four women the one thing he knows will set them off more than anything, and he knows, whether they believe it or not, they'll use, because he's handing them the card with which to play. So as soon as he says, y'all should leave America, go run your countries of origin. All but one, I think, was born in America.
I think so, yeah.
Come back and show us how we should be running our government. That was the card he handed them, and he knew they're either stupid or smart enough. Depending, I don't honestly, Elon Omar doesn't strike me as a woman to believe in identity politics, but realizes it's the best tool for her to stay in power.
Which
is fair. Yeah, she ran with it, knowing it would. So AOC's stupid enough to run with it.
Sure.
Elon Omar took the card and said, "This is a card he's handing me. I don't care what it gets him because it will get me noticed."
Sure, which is the American way.
Yeah.
As long as it benefits me.
So the squad runs with this.
Sure.
Forcing Pelosi and her business dens to stand in to close ranks because they have to. Because if they show the weakness in the because if they allow the weakness in the Democratic Party to show, especially this close to election season.
Well, yeah, the timing of this is not accidental.
The timing of this is not accidental. It shows how fractured. If they let AOC and her squad leave them in the wind and let it pass, the Democratic Party looks fractured and looks weak. So they have to close ranks and they have to defend the most extreme portions of their party, that being AOC, Ilhan Omar, and the other two, and they have to push them into the front, forcing Pelosi into the back. The business Dems look weak and spineless. It looks like the Democrats are a far left party, by anyone's standards, alienating their voting base, especially the business Dems, which make up a large portion of their voting base. And meaning that any candidate, any viable candidate, looks awful if they don't defend them. But securing Trump a position in the same candidate category.
Maybe, but you got to ask yourself, and this is the fundamental and the most important question, is all of this is going on, where is the Democrats' power base? If you'll recall, in the day, the Democrats were the working men's party. They were the factory workers' party. They were the trade union party. They were the party of the blue-collar working men. Yeah. Now we see business Dems and socialists arguably representing the millennial working class. You say that, lightly, as they drive Ubers and work 5 jobs, and none of which will give them full time. Arguably, they're still representing a sort of blue-collar worker, but they're representing the part-time 38-hour-a-week workplace.
Yeah.
Where you don't get benefits and you get screwed by your,
by
whatever
your
place you work. Yeah, and so you got to work 3 jobs, and if you so much as catch a flu, you die. Because no health care, and if you take a day off, your boss will fire your ass. Arguably, that's who AOC represents. She represents a block of disenfranchised millennials who cannot seem to figure out the way things work because, honestly, the system is, well, I'm not going to say
coddled them?
Well, it coddled them, but also, this shit ain't easy.
Yeah.
Adulthood ain't easy.
No.
That trickles back to a couple of things. Parents of millennials, who, honestly, complain the most about millennials, it's hilarious, solidly to blame. Yeah. However, the financial crisis of 2008, where everyone saw the housing market melt down and people lose everything, the stock market's crashing. This is what millennials came into their, 20s and their early, their late teens.
Yeah.
Seeing. And so they see these people worked 40 years for this company, and all their retirement pensions were gone, stolen by Bernie Madoff or whatever the hell else happened during that time. Anyone else remember him? Just me? He made off with all the money. That's for damn sure. Anyway, he's still sitting in a cushy white-collar prison as we speak, probably drinking more expensive booze than us. But the point being, 2008 saw the people who gave everything they had to a company, did what they were told by their parents, worked their 20, put their money into a pension, and in 2008 they were robbed. Their houses were worthless, their pension was gone, and what did they have to show for it? Not a damn thing. So you see this generation coming into adulthood, seeing that this company will screw you at the slightest inconvenience.
Yeah.
And then these same corporations wonder, why do you want more money to work for us? Why do you want benefits? Why do you want guarantees? Aren't you just grateful to have a job? Because the 2008 meltdown led to an employment crisis, which meant that, and it still does, employers could treat people however they wanted because there were 15 other people waiting for that job. And they got used to it. They got used to people being an expendable resource.
Yeah.
But eventually that's going to create an opposite effect. And AOC is that opposite effect. You're not going to give us health care. We can't depend on our employers to give us affordable health insurance. Now that's a combination of corporatism and the Affordable Care Act.
Yeah.
It is what is the right and what is the left meshing to screw us all on going to the fucking doctor. It's what it is. And so, you get this unique combination. Well, our employer is not providing this for us. They work us 39 hours a week so that they don't have to give us full benefits or, a lot of stories like that. And then well, we can't afford healthcare because they're also paying us like $10 an hour, which, you know, in some places that's a fortune, to some places that's a pittance.
Yeah.
You can afford rent, but healthcare? No. Good luck. And that's the point, is AOC represents a group of people who have seen the system screw people and have been screwed by the system, who've also been brought up to believe that corporations will screw them.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, all being backed by trendy corporations. That's a whole nother weird thing. I feel like someone drew a wild card in the deck of life on that one. But all the corporations who are saying, yes, fight the power, support the, you know, LGBT movement, and also we're a really cool corporation, looking at you, Amazon, Starbucks. Meanwhile, we pay our employees not so well, and we work them possibly to death. But let's not pay attention to that. We're trendy.
Yeah.
You've got all of this culminating, and you've got business dams who represent, you know, Goldman Sachs. Oh, I think they're gone now.
No, Goldman Sachs is still.
Oh, are they still? It was Lehman that went away. Who are representing, you know, firms? You've got AOC, who's representing, you know.
Oh no, I think Goldman Sachs went away. I think George Soros is the new end guy.
Well, he's a guy, but I'm talking about corporations. He's not a corporation. He just owns a bunch of them, I think. He's the right wing's kicking boy. They blame everything on that guy.
In fairness, there's evidence to support his involvement in a lot. So.
Sure, but is he the boogeyman in the closet? I highly doubt it. He's probably on his fifth heart by now, though.
Which one?
Well, my point is the rich people always seem to live a lot longer. I wonder if there's a connection there. Anyway, my point being that AOC represents the generation of people who were grown up being taught they were expendable, screw you, work yourself to death for the company, and maybe you get a shiny. And let's be honest, even your right-wing, your working class right-wing people will admit that they don't trust their company.
Yeah.
How many people, even on the right, have a job that they wake up and say, I'm not worried I'm going to get fired today?
I don't think anybody would say that.
And that's who AOC represents. Everyone in our generation, even people who lean to the right, do not have a company that gives a flying damn about who they are. That you are expendable. And we still, the companies, even as the economy recovers, now whether that's Trump, whether that's Obama, people will scream till they're blue in the face about it. It won't matter in 5 years. I don't care. The point is, even as the economy rebounds, corporations still got used to treating people like garbage, paying them like garbage, giving them no benefits. It was a boom. The economy being downturned was great for companies that don't like paying people.
Yeah.
And so, we're going to have a hard time shifting from companies that compete. You know, that's how
from a buyer's market to a seller's market.
Right, and there's not a lot of shift there.
Yeah.
There really isn't. And so AOC represents the people who've been screwed by that system so many times that they want to use the government as a weapon to fuck over the people who fucked them. Yeah. And that's what AOC is. AOC, just like Trump, who was a weapon against the left and all the crap they pulled when he was president, AOC is a weapon against corporatism. And corporatism, inevitably, is the right wing. Even though large amounts of the left are propped up by corporations, publicly, if you think of a money-grubbing business person as an elected official...
You think right-wing.
You think right-wing, even though they both do it. They both
are.
Yeah, they're all doing the same dance. But AOC is not. She's not being bought off by, you know, Goldman Sachs. She's fighting for her convictions, which, you know, everyone who first goes to D.C. does. Now, what's going to be interesting is AOC is the person that the right loves to hate. Everything she does, front page news. Does that remind you of somebody?
Trump.
Interesting, isn't it?
I mean, the comparison has been made. AOC is the left's Trump, but the problem is AOC's not popular. Trump is.
Trump is popular, or was, because of the promises he made. How many of those promises have been kept? Some have. He's repealed parts of the individual. He repealed the individual mandate for the Affordable Care Act. Mm-hmm. He did do tax returns, which somehow, and I've had people on the left try to convince me that more money in my pocket is a bad thing. Sorry, I'm siding with the right wing on that one. I want my money to let me has. It's just me.
I agree. I agree with that.
Sorry, but at the end of the day, we're all in it for number one. If you claim you're better and you're working for the community and you want to pay more taxes, good on you.
You're a liar.
Well, you're either a liar or you're a better person than me. I'm a selfish son of a bitch. Extra couple $100 a month. That goes a long way for me.
Yeah.
So that aside.
And then he's secured, I think, 4 rounds of funding for the border wall on top of the state of emergency declaration.
The border wall. Is that one we're going to save for another one, or are we?
I think we'll save that for another one because that's a subject in its own right. And there's newer developments that are happening right now.
Because that's still fresh news.
Yeah.
But that's okay.
That might be something we cover next week.
Well, we'll save that for next week, and it's sure to be a good one. I already have the jokes.
There's a long enough stretch where we have the promise and we have the history of it. The continued history of both left and right wing presidential candidates promising to deal with that, and nothing comes of it.
Shocker. Congress promising something and then doing nothing?
Yeah.
What kind of new and totally not predictable trend is this?
I think a theme people will see running through this podcast is that Congress there needs to be major reforms to
term limits. I'm all for it.
Yeah,
you can't buy a politician that can't stay in for very long.
Mm-hmm.
But that being said, circling back to AOC and the fracture in the party, the AOC is the future of the party. Now, whether that is a good thing or a bad thing, she represents the millennial bloc. The millennial bloc does, whether it's true or not, believe that the corporate government system is screwing them. And it is. Yeah. Just like it screwed every generation before them. What makes the millennials different is they just aren't cool with it anymore. And they're willing to screw the corporation. And, of course...
I don't think AOC is the future of the party at all.
She represents everything they've claimed to be for 40 years.
I mean... Yes,
how can you reverse course?
But it's not popular. They won't get I don't think AOC and her squad will get reelected. I think an incumbent will come. I'll take that bet. I don't think the incumbent will win.
I'll take that bet purely for name recognition purposes. They have made this woman so huge that people and your average...
She's not popular within her own district. She's got a 9% approval rating.
So, name me a congressman that doesn't.
I think any other congressman is more popular than AOC. A 9% approval rating is low.
Congress's approval rating is like 5%, isn't it?
Congress as a whole? Yeah, because they don't get anything done or don't seem to do anything.
When do you even know, like, let's start with the basics. Who is the congressional representative for your former, not your new, your former hometown? The one you lived in for a long time. Who is your representative? See the problem?
Yeah, I see.
And you're a politically engaged person.
That's the problem.
Your average person is going to go Democrat, beep, Republican, beep, straight ticket, bada bing, bada boom, I'm done with my lunch break.
Mm-hmm.
That's how she gets reelected.
I can see that.
And I can see that. Who's motivated in the primaries? People who follow publicity. Who's got more publicity? AOC.
But that's the thing. I think AOC has screwed herself out of reelection because of her popularity.
Maybe, but think about it this way. What if she's using the Elon Musk model? Maybe she knows this won't lead to personal success, but she's doing her best to drive the party in the direction. Elon Musk did something similar with the auto industry. He knew that Tesla wasn't going to be, the next Model T, although it's made changes. But Elon Musk's work within the automotive industry has forced the industry to adopt electrification. Volkswagen's promising to be internal combustion engine free by 2030. Now, that's a combination of a few things, but, a massive diesel scandal being one, but... Just
dead
a little
monkeys.
Bit. Dead monkeys, right. But the point is, his whole goal, he released his patents. His whole goal was to push the automotive industry in that, and he did so. Who's to say that's not AOC's plan?
I don't think she's smart enough to do it.
They didn't think Trump was smart enough to win an election.
That
was not smart to discount
I disagree. I think Trump has a big personality, but he's a smart man. The man does not... You don't succeed as much as he has in business for as long as he has in business without either being extraordinarily lucky or having someone extraordinarily lucky, having someone else manipulate everything for you, which I don't think has happened to Trump, or being smart enough to seize an opportunity when you see it. And I think that's what happened here.
With Trump, I could see him as seizing an opportunity, but let's not discount the fact that Trump started from this little thing that tends to help a lot of people called money.
That's true.
You have enough money, you can get away with anything.
But he's become far more successful than his own father.
Maybe, but it's easy to build a legacy when the foundation's been laid down.
I would agree with that.
So you come from a family with $1 million in the bank. It's going to be a lot easier to go out and start your own venture business than if you're slinging burgers.
$1 million isn't all that much.
I would take a small loan of $1 million.
I mean, when you think about it this way, you get $1 million to start a business. Mm-hmm. So, depending on where you go, most of that's going to be
startup costs. Easy.
Startup costs. Startup cost, employment. And like $1 million isn't all that much in the grand scheme. You have to turn a to just say.
Well, but having a ton of money, it makes it a hell of a lot easier to get a business started when you don't have to worry about paying your rent.
Yeah, I agree. But still, my point isn't that he started from. It was easy. I'm saying he started from. He didn't have a jumping off point. I'm saying, in the realistic sense, he's made his own success.
He has, but it's easier to build success when someone has laid out a nice, stable foundation for you.
Yeah.
And you have a safety net. Arguably, AOC did not have the same safety net.
I would agree.
She was a bartender before she was a congressperson. Couldn't even afford to pay down her own money to move to D.C.
My issue with her is she's a suburbanite.
Sure.
She wasn't raised in poverty. She was raised in upstate New York with two loving and fairly wealthy parents. Even if she's poor by suburbanite standards, that's not very poor.
Maybe, but not being able to afford rent in a rich neighborhood and not being able to afford rent in a poor neighborhood, you still can't afford to pay rent.
That's fair.
End result is the same. But that being said, it's easier to do it on those building blocks. And I'm not saying that AOC is better or worse than Trump. I'm just saying that in terms of relatability to the millennial voting bloc, she is someone who waited tables and then bartended and then got involved in the system. She relates to you, me, and every other millennial who's getting screwed by their boss more than small loan of $1 million. End of the day.
Yeah, I think
that's a massive weapon in her war against the rich, old people in the Democratic Party. Mm-hmm. That being said, I think that's a good place to stop. I mean, we could easily add more.
We could.
But that being said, if you have
We've been
thoughts,
at this for, I think, a little over an hour now, right?
I lost track. But that being said, if anyone has any comments, concerns, suggestions on what they'd like to hear us talk about, go ahead and drop us a comment. He will read them. I don't like the interwebs. Your comment section cannot get me. I'm immune to you. That being said, if you have suggestions, comments, concerns, or
if
even
you pay us, he might read them.
Lies. Or even a
I might make if we get successful enough, I might make that a Patreon goal where you will read out their comment live on the podcast. I don't read comment sections.
I refuse. That is the cesspool of the internet. However, if our 1 or 6 listeners has something like that to hear us talk about, or even just a clapback, he will read it. I will laugh because you have no power over me without your precious internet. Drop us a comment. We'll take it under advisement. He will. I mean, I won't, but he will.
The podcast you just heard was made using Anchor. Ever thought about making your own podcast? Anchor makes it really easy for anyone to get started. It's a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing podcasts. Best of all, it's 100% free. Sign up now at anchor.fm/new. That's anchor.fm/new to get started.